History. It's probably a lot more important than you think. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel, folks. If you're new here, welcome. Glad to have you. You know, we don't really think a lot about history until we look at something like motorcycles. Motorcycles aren't just, well, they're markers, but they're not just a machine. Motorcycles actually mark the history of social interaction, what was happening in the country at the time. When we look at certain bikes, when we were younger, and you actually remember those times. So the history of motorcycles is really the history of us. And I've got a few motorcycles to show you. I went last year to see Jared Weems down at the Wheels of Steel. And he was a real nice guy. And went to look at some bikes. And we talked old bikes, history, and why it's important. And let me show you a few of these bikes. You know, the Knucklehead is very, very important. Now, it did come out in 1936, but it was the first bike to have a recirculating oil system and an oil pump. Every motor that Harley has since then, with the exception of the flatheads, has been based on that motor. Whether it's a panhead, or a shovel head, or an Evo, or a twin cam, or an M8, all comes from that Knucklehead motor, which probably explains why they're so popular and priced out of the reach of most of us. But they're a very important marking in time and what was going on at that time. They had a 1915 JD there, which is in beautiful shape. I'll put that up there too. But history is one of those things, also has an emotional attachment. History is kind of what makes us up. I mean, we are the accumulation of what we've done in history. History is my favorite subject, and when you put motorcycles in the mix, well, I'm there. I love motorcycle history because it represents so much of what happened. When I look at the panheads of the 60s, I kind of remember what was going on back then. Shovel heads, starting getting in the Vietnam War. These are things that were important. And they kind of have an emotional attachment, but history is one of those subjects that we don't even need to think about. We just see something and it brings us back. It throws us back to whatever year we're looking at. Let me show you something. Captain America. Remember that bike? Peter Fonda? Every time I look at that bike, I think of what I was doing when I saw that movie and Peter Fonda, and I think it really just inspired an entire generation, maybe multiple generations actually. Just the picture alone just brings back memories. I've never seen the bike in person. I'd like to. And I will be going up to the Wheels Through Time Museum at some point, and I'll be doing a video up there because it is probably the best museum for old motorcycles that you can possibly go to on this continent anyway. It is the history of life, not just the history of motorcycles. And it's one of those places that's been on my bucket list and would just mean a lot to go to. I'll probably have to spend 2 days there. So take a look at a few of these bikes and tell me what it reminds you of, and where were you when some of these bikes were out?